Hello.
Hello. Welcome to Mac Yak, episode 174 for October 6th, 2022. Hi.
Seventh.
7th. Bruce is in the future, as always.
Yeah, I'm in the future.
How's everyone doing?
Real good.
Good.
Yeah, this show is similar to previous shows, but with less calories. So,
We're the diet version, although
Yeah.
I don't know what part of the diet.
Maciac Light.
GT was unable to make it, probably out celebrating his birthday from yesterday. Happy birthday to
Nah, that doesn't
GT.
make any sense. Happy birthday.
What else? Grudy's not here because he probably thinks it's a different day of the week.
He's on a different time zone.
Yes. And Dana will be here later.
Yeah.
Yep. And I am here
Angry
physically.
at us in the
Mentally is yet to be determined.
There was not a lot of sleep had, was there, Jay?
No, I think we were chatting when I fell asleep on the couch watching TV. And then I woke up and realized, oh, I never made it upstairs. And it's like, just carried on the chat as we were before. So,
I have to admit, we were having this chat, and then the chat stopped, obviously assuming you had gone to sleep. I kept chatting a few things, just a little mention here, a little mention there, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden you start replying again. I'm thinking, this doesn't figure out. This is not right.
Yeah.
There's not enough sleep being had here.
Did not go as planned.
That's for sure. Oh goodness. So what have you been up to, Jay, besides not getting sleep?
Getting the yard ready for winter. I usually start a bit early or late, depending on who you ask. So I'm working, and then I run outside till it gets dark. I eat, and I sit back here to chat or to do other stuff. That's pretty much my week. Although I am, even though there's a disclaimer on my website, I am so far behind in repairs that it's I'm starting to feel great shame. I don't know if it shows up on camera. Yeah. Wait. No, wrong way. Hold on. The stack of boxes is starting to show on camera, which is usually a sign that I'm really, really behind. So
I'm glad. One of us.
yeah.
Yes, I know. I get you. I'm there as well.
Oh, I did pack your box, by the way, Bruce.
Oh, crap. That means I've got to pack yours, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I've got all the bits. I have all the bits together. I mean, I can at least say that. All of the bits that I need to send across to Jay, they are all there. They just need to be placed in a box and then sent across. And they seem to have lowered the postage to the US. I mean, they usually go up, not down. But I had to send something to the US the other day, and it only cost me 16 Australian dollars. That's with tracking and everything. And so I was like, wow, that is cheap. So
Yeah. Only takes 6 months to get there, right?
2 weeks typically. 2 weeks for that economy service. So yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah.
What about you, Steve?
I'm still recovering from VCF Midwest. I don't know. I've been busy just tinkering around with some of that stuff. I did a live stream on my channel a few days ago to promote my wife's audio drama. So we were playing silly old games, and she was kicking my ass in Mortal Kombat. And then yesterday,
Shame.
I know. And yesterday I was tinkering around on a Patreon stream where I got the Reefa caps and the Lisa fixed, so that was good. And that machine actually, if I switch over to share the screen, this displayed. There you go. It was acting a little weird. The display going in and out. A few
I did warn you about that.
Smart people in the chat said it could either be bad solder joints or capacitors. So.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you just from experience, just given the vintage of that computer, that analog board that sits behind the CRT, that definitely does need recapping, and that should sort out a lot of problems with the display on that.
Did you see the refresh rate on that thing? I want one. That's the ultimate gaming monitor, man.
Stretch those pixels, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The analog board I have all the caps for, but I was hoping to get some life out of it with just replacing the Reefa caps. But silly me, Not in the cards. I couldn't escape with a quick one this time. No.
The one thing I will say with working on it, I mean, I know that when I was working on Elisa the first time, I found it terribly daunting, and I was literally trying to just only have to touch what I needed to touch. I didn't want to touch anything else. It's like, I'm not going to do that. Having now completely dismantled it several times, it definitely does get easier. You start to get a bit more confidence. I mean, to get to the analog board, you've got to take the CRT out. That's not as daunting as it sounds. I mean, there are like 4 bolts holding it in. You need maybe have an extra pair of hands around to sort of hold it, and then you can sort of take the thing off the back and whip it out. It's really not as bad as it sounds.
So you're going to come over and help me then?
Yeah, sure. That's right. I'll be on the next flight. I've actually got Elisa here at the moment, and I really want it gone. So,
I'll bring it with you.
So I'm probably going to try and work on that at some stage today to see if I can get rid of it, because it's one that belongs to Madeline, friend of the show, and she is actually going to be in town this weekend. So it's my opportunity to give it back to her.
Excellent.
But I can't give it back to her unless it's been repaired. So.
Yeah, there's there were quite we went back and forth because we were. I was trying to make a recapping guide, which I posted. I should get the link up here. I posted a rudimentary one on my website, so there is one there now. I am going through the due diligence to actually test to see if that guide is accurate when I do the replacement. I checked on the damn things and looked over the caps again and again, so it should be fun. But
worst case scenario, it won't ever work again. It'll become like the 840 AV.
Look at that beautiful scratch.
Oh, that's lovely. Oh, look at that. By golly.
This belongs in a museum.
Yeah,
it sure does.
Yeah.
Well, my excuse was if I didn't upload it, I probably would forget for another 6 months, like some people. So,
yes, the interesting thing about Elisa is that it really is a kind of pretty stupid animal. I mean, really ridiculously expensive. Very slow. The operating system is very, very far away from sort of like, what we would consider to be a modern, GUI operating system. It's kind of ugly, but because of that, it's just something that makes it so incredibly collectible. I mean, just watching you using it in that live stream, experiencing the same thing that I experienced when I used Elisa for the first time. When you double click the clock and you're sitting there waiting for the clock to arrive on the screen, you're thinking, it's a clock, for goodness sake. Why am I waiting for a clock?
That's 5 megahertz of power there, Bruce.
Yeah, it's quite extraordinary. I mean, but when you consider, the first Mac that came out, it was so much zippier. They managed to make the little Mac so much quicker to use and much more logical as well. There were so many things in Elisa that were very illogical, and that they just hadn't quite got it right yet. So
yeah, I mean, there were also some things that were very ahead of its time, and that for features that maybe weren't as prevalent on the Surface that you wouldn't even see until later versions of like Mac OS 10. Very interesting ways that the memory is handled and this and that, and how it would handle certain tasks. So,
and a built-in screensaver.
Yeah.
That was just part of the
OS. Was doing it first.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
mine has 2 screensavers. One's the capacitor screensaver.
Yeah, that's right. That just constantly changes the brightness. But yeah, the fact that you just leave it on for a certain amount of time and it just dims the screen, and it does that built into the operating system. No additional plugins or anything like that, or control panels. There are things like that, which that's definitely ahead of its time. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to own one. I think I'll probably have to give up that because they're only getting more expensive. So.
Well, you have one right now.
Yeah, I will probably have to give that back. It's funny. Madeline was saying that she is likely to be getting another one soon, and the one she's getting is a really spectacular one. It's got all sorts of extras and stuff that allow you to do all sorts of wild and crazy things with it. It's because it's been kind of custom made, and I was sort of half entertaining the idea of buying this one off Madeline, but the problem is that Madeline knows how much it's worth. I don't think I'm going to be able to, sort of.
But it's broken. As long as you don't fix it, less value.
Yeah, you say to her, "Oh yeah, this is going to be really tough to repair." As soon as you buy it a week later, yeah, I got it all fixed.
Live
Well,
stream
it's
5
funny.
minutes later. Fixed.
I've got these two boards, and neither of them work. One of them has got all these damage traces. It's going to be a huge amount of work. The other one looks perfect, but doesn't work. So
which is worse?
yeah, I know. I don't know which one's worse. So there's the one where I could see what the problem is. All I have to do is go in and repair them, and then the other one I've got to go through and actually test all these components to find out what the problem is. But yeah, anyhow.
Well, you just slap one of those 20 megahertz upgrades into that and you'll see it fly. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I want to see if I can get OS 10 to run on it.
what happened? What's that? Melted piece of plastic on your desk, Bruce? Oh, it used to be Elisa.
Dear.
So we have
Speaking of macOS 10.
Oh yes, please interrupt us and move the topics forward.
Oh, this is not a topic. I don't even know what the topics are, to be honest. I haven't opened the notes. But I want to shamelessly promote someone else's video.
Please do.
Is this
I
think I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah. Some of you, definitely everybody here with a Mac Pro, will know the guide, the definitive Mac Pro upgrade guide. He also has a channel, a YouTube channel, and he put out a video today. Come on, YouTube. And I'll put the link to the channel so you're not tempted to leave us and watch the video now. But it's the last video he did today. And it's really put together quite nicely. I don't agree with everything because obviously Tiger is the best operating system. Duh. But really nice video about OS 10 that you should check out after Mac Yak.
This is the 10.6 one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I have to say, Snow Leopard probably goes down as one of my favorites. I know that it lacks some of that versatility of 10.4 with the still being able to do classic and I think you can still read AFS discs and stuff like that, the old Mac discs, but 10.6 is just such a good stable operating system.
Yeah. It didn't start out that way though. I had some major issues with the early versions of 10.6, but I think by 10.6.4 it had really, I never experienced any bugs after that, and by the time they got to 10.6.8, it's rock solid.
Yeah, I don't.
It's one of the operating systems I actually paid for. I actually have it in a box here.
Same.
Yeah, I don't recall having many issues with 10.6. I remember having a ton of issues with 10.8. That's a whole other story.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, someone in the chat saying Tiger for PowerPC, Snow Leopard for Intel. I would generally agree with that, although the 2006 Intel Core Duo iMac that I got came shipped with 10.4.4, and that thing screamed on Tiger.
Yeah.
And, it ran pretty good on Snow Leopard too, but it was just a monster on Tiger. It just, you couldn't slow that thing down.
Yeah. Understandable.
Yeah.
So cool.
So we have our first little news item here today. I guess we should get in because we're 16 minutes into the show. And it's about the European Union voting that they must have a standardized phone connector, which of course is bad news for Apple and their proprietary Lightning phone port. The link is giving me trouble. 1 second. I'll put up a dilly.
It's in.
No, I was going to share the screen so we have something pretty to look at.
Oh, fancy. I should say ahead of time, and I'm going to sound like a complete douchebag, but that is my thing after all. My brother messaged me yesterday about the same thing. Oh, finally, new canvas. Dude, the way electricity prices are going there, you can't even afford to charge your damn iPad soon or your damn phone. So what are you complaining about? He did not think that was funny. I did, but he didn't.
The only reason I like this is because hopefully we'll get USB 3 transfer speeds on a freaking iPhone. So
that would be
when
nice.
I go to back up my phone manually because iCloud's a piece of crap, I don't have to sit there and wait.
Your iCloud is a piece
My
of crap.
iCloud. I smeared feces all over my personal.
Other people have iClouds that are fine, but
Yeah,
you broke yours.
yeah. Ever since the iTools days, there's been a black mark on my account, and it has not been lifted yet. So,
Me
So
too, Adam.
can I rant on this?
oh please,
yeah.
I'm gonna make
yours.
you big. You're
So
gonna rant.
an interesting thing in the Australian media, there was a news article in one of the newspapers here that said, "Oh, bad news for Apple," and to some extent it is, but of course we know that they really have been preparing for this for some time. I mean, obviously the iPads are already USB-C. They are providing even their Lightning cables that they provide with their devices now are Lightning to USB-C. They know it's been on the cards in the European Union. This was happening, so it's not like Apple's going to be blindsided by this, and it's not like they have to go in and change all the devices that have been released. This is something that comes in 2024. And so they really only need to do something about it in Europe at that time. Now, will Apple completely change over, or will they release a European version of a phone or not? But I think they'll probably just change over. But for me, there are two things with this. First of all, why are people getting so upset about having to buy another cable? I sort of feel like bringing in some sort of harsh legislation like this that makes it so that people have to make their phones with a particular connector. I sort of feel like someone is overreacting. I mean, we are not talking about, this being a massive inconvenience for people. It's like, I bought a new phone, now I need a new cable. I mean, I just don't get why this is such a big issue that someone would do that. Then the other thing is that what always scares me about this sort of stuff is when governments make these sorts of decisions, because certainly in this country, I don't know if it's the same over there, but in this country, governments typically don't know squat about technology.
Nah.
They are usually people who are incredibly ill-informed. They haven't really looked at the big picture, and they often end up, it's like, when they say, "Oh, we're going to have to start doing this," and it's like, and then they speak to a technical person, they go, "That's just logistically impossible," or something like that. It's. I just find so much of the time that they're just so poorly informed.
Well, easy with the anarchy, anti-government speech here, man. Come on.
You're offending all of your fellow hosts here.
Yeah, I'm not saying that governments shouldn't legislate on things. All I'm saying is that when it comes to these sorts of technical matters, they are often people are often overreacting.
Bruce, are you telling me that the internet is not a truck? It's a series of tubes? Is this what you're telling me?
Well, it's some of the stuff, because obviously the internet is something that moves very, very quickly, and obviously they need to respond to certain things. I mean, there were laws that weren't in place that needed to be in place that have been put in place, that sort of stuff. But I just, as I say, the idea that the European Union have decided that USB-C is can you imagine if they'd made this decision when micro SD was the only option?
Yeah, USB-B-A, whatever.
I mean, micro USB is one of the worst connectors ever made. The fact that if you put it in the wrong way and force it a little bit,
Bruce, you're offending
you will destroy the connector. The fact it only goes in one way. If you happen to put it in the wrong way and force it a little bit too hard, you will destroy the connector. They are notorious for breaking. The connectors just failing and getting ripped off the board and stuff like that. At least USB-C is reversible. That's one good thing, and obviously the transfer speeds are good and all that sort of stuff. But that's more about the sort of the technology behind it than the actual connector itself. So yeah, that's kind of my rant. I've got no issue with USB-C being chosen as the standard. I'm just not a big fan of a group of suits getting together and saying, "Hey, let's go in and make so that everyone has to do it this way."
About the first part of your rant, and by the way, beautiful rant. I had a tear. Amazing. I am all for I've never had an issue buying additional cable until Apple started providing my $800 cell phone without a cable. Now I'm like, I will not give you another penny if I can help it. So I buy anchor cables, gas station cables. I'll buy whatever I can get my hands on. I've never had an issue with buying additional cables because you need one for the office, for the living room next to the couch. Bathroom needs at least 3. Bedroom. So you always end up buying cables. But as soon as Apple stopped supplying me with cables, it just became like, yeah, now I don't like you anymore. I hope they force you to do USB-C because I already have 50 of those.
So just to confirm that they're not supplying chargers. You're saying they're not supplying cables as well? I can't remember the last.
Yeah, it's just well, my phone came with a cable, I think.
Yeah, I
Mine
thought
didn't.
they still came with cables. Oh, okay.
Mine didn't.
My wife just bought one recently. I need to check the box. Anyhow,
It's also depending on the country, apparently, because
definitely got a cable. Definitely got a cable with the AirPods. So I got my wife some of the latest AirPod Pros, and they definitely came with a cable, but not a charger.
Yeah, you don't get headphones, you don't get a charger, but you get the USB-C to Lightning cable. So
Okay.
Because that's the only USB-C to Lightning cable I have, and Adam in the chat actually gave me a brick for that, so I could actually use it. Because I didn't have any USB-C devices, but I got the damn phone. I'm like,
the last phone I got with a cable was the XS. The 12 Pro didn't have one. The 13.
It might be buried in that box, Jay. Trust me.
No.
I
look under the cardboard.
Betcha.
Oh, there's under the cardboard? I never knew.
Yeah, mine did have the cable. It was like buried. It was not in a place you would normally find it. But anyway, mine did come with a cable. I'm not against USB-C, obviously, because then you don't have to pay the Apple tax for their wires. You could then use these dongles and cables to put SD card readers and all sorts of stuff on your iPhone, which they should have done ages ago. I mean, Apple is going to lose a ton of money from their, the licensing they get for making Lightning available for accessories and all this sort of stuff. So they're going to lose a ton of money from that. But it's better for the consumer, I think, because in this particular scenario, then you don't have to pay the Apple tax for a cable. Now, there's going to be other problems because you're going to buy like the cheapest USB-C cable you could get, and it's probably going to be power only, and then you can't sync to it, and there's going to be growing pains like there are with the cheapo Lightning cables that are out there now.
But that's only a problem for people that don't like iCloud.
No comment. I won't disagree with Bruce though on I don't know if it's the best idea for this forcing change to come from a legislative power. I think that Apple should have moved to USB-C on their phones ages ago. I thought it was going to happen on the 12 or the 13 or the 14, but it hasn't. They switched over the iPads, like Bruce said. They have MagSafe charging, which is pretty damn quick, apparently. I don't have the adapter, but whatever. So Garth was saying that, he thinks that they may even go to a cordless design, which I sincerely hope not, because some people use the wireless charging because apparently the MagSafe will really screw up your pacemaker. So, you can't have that huge ass magnet near you. And I think there will always be the cause or the need to have a cable, whether it's a hardware issue or you're trying to recover something or you're trying to repair it, from Apple's point of view. I would hope that we're not at the point yet where there's a cableless phone, because I don't think the technology has matured that much. I've had, those, the Qi chargers, the wireless ones, and of course those are like 5 volts or something, very low voltage. And those obviously are not anywhere as near as good as MagSafe, but those things sometimes won't even turn on the phone when it's dead. So, I think there's a little bit to go. But then again, I'm an old cranky person that, likes SCSI ports. So what the hell do I know?
I'm just imagining if it had been legislated back in the day that that all companies had to make beta instead of VHS VCRs. You imagine that, or you think of things like SD cards. I mean, once upon a time, everyone was. So you had your compact flash, you had your SD, you had your
memory stick.
there was a memory stick, Sony memory stick, and then Panasonic had like I can't remember, XD.
Yeah.
That's right. And you had all these, and then ultimately the market decided. The market really went in favor.
Sure.
So Compact Flash has the advantage that it is essentially, I think it's just like an IDE device sort of thing, but in a smaller format. So there's advantages there, and that's been probably still being used in the pro photography market quite a bit. But everything else has just gone SD cards, SD or micro SD.
I think that this was more of an issue maybe 5 or 10 years ago, where every single Android phone under the sun was either USB, micro B, and there was all these different flavors of it where you had an extra connector for faster power because USB micro or whatever couldn't sustain this or that. And then there are different variations of USB B. There's like a 4-pin and a 5-pin version. There's like all these little minor differences and stuff. And the port, like Bruce said, is not that, stable. You could really break it quite easily. So I think like if this came out a few years ago, and I know they've been working on this, it's nothing new. This has been on Apple's radar and every tech enthusiast radar for a while now. It just, I guess we're getting the slow reaction or enforcement rather of this. So, but right now, I think 90% of the Android phones out there use USB-C. And the iPhone is the only one with Lightning.
I think Apple is secretly working and has been for many years to a new mini FireWire standard. They might just put that in the phone.
Yeah, just put Thunderbolt on it. Screw USB-C. But use the USB-C connector, but put Thunderbolt on the damn thing like you do with the iPads.
Like the first iPod, with the FireWire connector, were you ever worried about snapping that thing in half? No. But the 30-pin. How many cables with bent pins or putting in? Come on, FireWire is the way to go. Clearly,
it is. They might have to make the phones a bit fatter.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm all for it.
Put it behind the bulge for the camera. It'll fit.
I bought this little cable the other day. I just wanted to quickly show this. So this is USB cable. So we got USB here at that end, and then we've got USB-C at this end. But check this out. How good is this? Whip him off. Micro USB.
Whoa.
You're in the future.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, if this USB-C lets me have faster data transfers with my iPhone, I'm all for it. So
yeah. Really, I've got no issue with the USB-C standard. I've got no issue with the connector. I'm totally fine with it. I just picture this happening like, sort of like someone, lying in bed with his wife and she's saying, I've got the wrong cable. Our phones don't have the same cables. And him going, I can fix this. And going into work the next day and saying, we're going to make a change here. And I just, I don't know. It just seems like an overreaction to a very small problem. So,
Wait,
seems like a sad marriage,
no.
too.
Sorry, I missed all of that. That was all
Sorry.
just sound.
Yeah, it's all right. Nothing important.
Sorry, Jay.
Okay.
All right. So next thing to talk about, and this is hyper local. So if you're not in New Jersey, then you could probably ignore this. But the VCF Swap Meet is happening this weekend on Saturday. So Mike of Mike's Mac Shack will be there. I'll be there. Greg, the birthday boy, will probably be there. So that'll be a lot of fun. I don't have much cash to spend, so I guess that's good on everybody else who's attending.
Take the next cube with you and swap it for something.
I don't think so. I think it's too heavy. So yeah, there's that going on. Go to vcfed.org for more information. I'm sure you'll see photos and maybe videos and whatever the heck I end up posting from there. But I already saw a bunch of people. Sean's going, so there you go. He'll steal all my deals.
You just got to show up before he does.
Steve's gonna buy all the CRTs again. I bought 2. Oh wait, never mind. I don't want to count how many I bought last time.
Yeah, don't incriminate yourself.
Oh, that's a trap. Thank you, Sean, for walking me into that. Oh boy. So yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. They always put on good events. It's not like the formal exhibits type show. It's just a swap meet. But hopefully the weather will be good because it was been pissing raining, as Bruce would say, for the past 4 or 5 days. So all right. So let's get into our topics here. So the first topic here I just want to touch on for a bit. A really cool piece of software was released. And this is the Blue Scuzzy transfer utility. It's in beta. So, it's one of those things where it's probably has a few bugs in it, but that's okay. If you encounter bugs, make sure to report them. But this is a very interesting little utility. How this works is you have to have a Blue SCSI, obviously. If your Blue SCSI is updated with the firmware and all that fun stuff, you basically download a hard disk image to the Blue SCSI device. That's this beta 1, and it extracts from a zip file as an HDA file. And you drag that over to your Blue SCSI, and it mounts like another hard drive volume. Inside of that is an app. And you open that app, and it allows you to take files from the root of the SD card and put that on your vintage Mac, and vice versa. You can upload files, let's say documents or things that you saved, and put that from your Mac volume onto the root directory of the SD card. So where this is very handy, I mean, there's tons of applications for this, but what I think is great about this is a lot of the Macs today cannot read or write the old HFS or HFS, the HFS file system, not HFS Plus, but the old HFS file system. And what's nice about this is you don't have to really worry about that. You can be on a Mac or a PC. You just put the files in the root directory, and you do a little transfer dance here with this cool application. And it's Daner. And you're off to the races there. So I did download this. I played with it for a few seconds. I am feverishly working on some fun content related to it, so that'll be fun. Hopefully I'll be up by this weekend.
I guess what I would sort of add to this is at the moment, if I want to get some stuff onto the drive, there are two ways I can do it. I can either do it, I can actually get the vintage computer and connect it to an FTP server or something and download a file that way, because that's dependent on it having Ethernet and me being able to connect it up.
Or Local Talk. Don't forget Local Talk.
Yeah. The other option is that I can take the card out of my Blue SCSI and I can put it into my Mac. Now, again, this is coming from a very, very Mac-centric point of view, but I can put it into my Mac and I will then load up SheepShaver. And I have SheepShaver set up so that if it sees that card inserted, it will automatically mount that disk image as a drive in the sort of.
Well, that's only because you're fancy.
Yeah, so then I can launch the emulator and I can then copy a file from the computer onto that. Now it works, but boy, it's finicky. The idea of being able to just take a file, drop it onto that that SD card anywhere. And then just use this utility to copy it over. I mean, I think it's a really, really good idea.
Oh, yeah.
Is this a valid alternative to Carbon Copy Cloner on Monterey?
Sure, Jay. Why not?
Awesome.
What I hate about the method you mentioned, Bruce, is I don't care how many times I try and do it, and maybe you figured out some automatic way, but I have to open up SheepShaver, let it boot, go to preferences, drag the image that's always a different name, because I have a few of these Blue SCSIs, drag the image from the SD card to that, shut it down, turn it on again, hope it works. If it doesn't, find out what I did wrong. Then finagle it around, copy the file over, finish what I'm doing, eject the card, go to my vintage Mac, then realize, oh crap, and I'm an idiot, I copied the wrong one, and repeat the process until I cry in the corner for a few hours.
I mean, obviously, apart from the new being an idiot part, we can't really do anything about that. But one of the things you can do, it involves setting it up in the first place. But let's just say you have a particular amount of, Blue SCSI images or whatever. You can set them all up. You can go into SheepShaver and add them as disk images. And if the card's not there, SheepShaver will just launch and ignore it. It'll ignore the request. So if you have that listed in the preference as a drive to mount, if it's there, it'll mount when it boots. If it's not there, it won't. So I just have it set up like that so that the images are there. And then I just put the card in, launch SheepShaver, and then it just comes up the first go because I've already set that up. But you're right, it is a rather annoying thing compared to, say, something like Mini VMAC where you can just drag an image onto it. SheepShaver, if you want to add a new image, you got to go into preferences, you got to add it, and then you got to restart the thing. So,
and the father of this tool is in the chat here, and he's teasing.
He is teasing us.
I'm
so
very excited.
I will just mention something here really quickly, because this is obviously important if people are doing this vintage stuff, and I know a lot of people are. When it comes to those files of those old computers, they have a thing referred to as a resource fork and a data fork. And a resource fork contains all sorts of things like icons, but it contains identifiers to say what sort of file that is. Whereas on the Windows world, they were identified by the 3-letter extension. On Macs, they were identified in this resource fork. Now, if you get yourself a file and you download it on a modern computer, and then you take that file and you drop it into an exFAT formatted disk like this that we're using for Blue SCSI, that resource fork will be gone. Only the data fork will copy across. Now, for a file like a .sit file, that doesn't really matter, because the only information that's in that resource fork is ultimately the identifier. Everything is in the data fork. So apparently this utility is going to restore the name and creator. So it'll actually go in and essentially restore the information that'll say what sort of file it is. Now, that will work for some file formats, others it won't. If you're looking at, say, an application, if you were to just get an application that hasn't been compressed and you were to copy it across, a lot of the time they have important information in the resource fork that enables the application to work. And once that resource fork is gone, that file is destroyed. So a really important thing, if you are copying files across onto an exFAT formatted card, you want to make sure that they are compressed in some format, stuff it or something like that. Or you can bin hex them as well, which then just needs to be unbin hex when you get to the other side. So yeah, just a little tip for people who are doing this. The easiest way, of course, is just to go with a compressed file format, and most of these vintage ones are compressed in StuffIt. So what the fork?
So there's a few things just to mention on that. This utility is compatible System 6 through System 9, so either a 68K or a PowerPC Mac. You do actually have to have the Blue SCSI plugged in. It will yell at you if you're not using the Blue SCSI. So, obviously use it as it's intended. How this works is there's a shared folder that's in the root directory of the SD card, and that's what things will transfer to and from. And if you run into any bugs or issues, please report them. There are a few known issues here. Uploading large files and stuff are going to be a bit finicky, but this is brand new, so things are going to be fixed up and worked on, I'm sure. And I'm very eager to try this out further, because it's one of those things that, how many times have I've said on a stream, oh, hold on, and I have to get the SD card thing, and I have to open up the emulator, and it's not happy, and I waste 50 minutes of my life. So
now I do have a question for Eric. This is just a curious question to satisfy my own curiosity. What was used to code this utility? I'm just curious about what was
HyperCard.
Something tells me a HyperCard wouldn't be able to talk to a Blue SCSI, but who knows? I'd just be very curious.
If anybody could do it, it would be Eric, one of the Erics.
Yes, because obviously, programming for 68K Macs, you can't just bring out Xcode. So
you can, it just won't do anything.
Think C6 on a Quadra 950. There we go.
Nice choice.
Yeah.
Nice choice.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
So
I code in that all the time. It's really awesome.
So do we have a open source software to talk about tonight, or no?
Nope.
All right. Then Bruce, do you want to talk about your let's see how I could phrase this. You trying to pry metal off of metal with jugs of water. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, that's right. So I released a video sort of a little while ago. It's a follow-up to my build your own ultrasonic cleaner video, which was a very, very popular video for me anyway. I mean, it's had, I don't know, 200 and something thousand views. And it sometimes just goes through spikes. That obviously they go through these phases of interest, and then all of a sudden the video just does really well, and then it fades off. And the building the ultrasonic cleaner was, for me, it was ultimately a necessity. It wasn't just doing it for giggles. It was because most of the ultrasonic cleaners that come out have kind of boxy sorts of tanks. So when they get bigger, they just get bigger as a, sort of like a box. They don't kind of get bigger in a single direction. They get a bit wider, a bit deeper, a bit taller. And I needed a tank that was very wide and very shallow. And so I got my own tank and decided to build my own ultrasonic cleaner. And that there are all the parts sort of available online, and so it sort of seemed fairly straightforward. I'll buy drivers, I'll buy transducers, I'll stick them to the bottom of the tank, and away we go. When the package arrived, there was very little information about how this should be done, and then I went onto their website about these ultrasonic drivers, and it was very, very hard to understand. Hang on, if I get my hand here like this, I'll look like a ventriloquist puppet thing there when I'm talking. So, oh look, everyone else is muted. What's going on? Why is everyone else muted?
We're giving you space to talk and act like a ventriloquist.
So anyhow, I built the thing, but one of the big problems I had was the transducers that were stuck to the bottom of the tank. That they're the emitters, they're the things that actually make the ultrasonic sound. They kept falling off. Now, of course, they're under a fair deal of stress because they're vibrating at very high frequencies, and so they will test any form of adhesive. But I was using JB Weld because JB Weld's a pretty strong epoxy, and then I decided to try a few different things. In this video, the main thing I'm doing is experimenting with different ways to stick those transducers to the tank and then try and come up with a definitive way of doing it. Say, okay, if you're going to build one of these yourself, this is the way I recommend doing it. And so this is me here. What I did is I went and bought a little tank and I had some transducers and I stuck them on. I had one stuck on with JB Weld, one stuck on with high strength epoxy adhesive. I had one with a little welded bolt, which you weld that onto the tank, and then you screw the transducer onto that, as well as using glue. And the other one was using silver solder and high-strength epoxy. And I went and tested them all for strength. And one thing is for sure is JB Weld was the weakest of all of them. So I would not recommend JB Weld. JB Weld stuck really well to the transducer, but didn't stick particularly well to the stainless steel tank. So even in that, you may or may not be able to see it, but even in that picture, when you look at it there, the one that's fallen off on the left, it's left virtually no JB Weld on the stainless steel at all. It all came off with the transducer. Whereas with the high strength epoxy, there was some epoxy still stuck on the stainless steel. So it clearly adheres to stainless steel better. The high strength epoxy adheres better.
I just want to say that if you do not care about ultrasonic cleaners, the video is still worth watching for Bruce jumping whenever the tanks fall.
It freaked me out, I'm telling you, because and in particular, when I got to a point where those tanks were all full, and it was a total of 72 kilograms, which that's 160 pounds or something like that. The amount of kinetic energy in those tanks just hanging from there. And I'm just sort of walking around them really sheepishly because, if one of them did give way while it was full, they were just going to sort of go everywhere. So that was a big jump. That was because I was totally not expecting that. What happened was the glue gave way, but the welded bolt inside was still holding on.
The look on your face is like, should I run or should I?
Yeah, that's right. So this is the thing. I mean, once it was full and it was there, I'm like, what now? I really want this to come off. What am I going to do? I don't have any more tanks. Do I start yanking it? If I stand there and yank it, if that thing on the tank there comes flying off forwards, it cracks me in the head. That'll be the end of me. So anyhow, it was a fun experiment to do, and a couple of people pointed out that it was not the best experiment because I'm using just sheer force, comparing it to something which is under constant vibration. And so you've got, fatigue coming into play because it's under constant vibration. Now, although I do agree with that, this still does show you one method stronger than the other.
Yeah.
And, spoiler alert, the way that I am doing it from now on is using silver solder. It's a nice, easy thing to work with. I mean, you can just go and buy some flux. You paint a little bit of flux onto the stainless steel. You get the little bolt. You apply heat with a blowtorch. You can buy those blowtorches from, what's the hardware you guys have? Lowe's or something like that. You can just go and get them for really, really cheap. The silver solder is a bit expensive because it's got silver in it, but you don't need much of it. And Yeah, you just it's like normal soldering, but just with a lot more heat. And that was really, really strong. I mean, that I could have hung off that transducer, and I
That's
weighed
your
a lot.
next test. Your
Yeah,
third level.
so I built a swing. I'll build a swing from transducers hanging up there. So,
Honey, could you move the camera?
so yeah, that was it was a good fun experiment. But the main thing about that experiment was it really did give me a good method. I mean, I'm in a position now where if I was to say build a new ultrasonic cleaner tomorrow, I would be feeling pretty confident that I will be able to build something that's going to work, it's going to last. They definitely need fans. The drivers that drive the transducers do get hot, so you do need to have some fans to keep them cool. But there's nothing particularly major. But yeah, I mean, I'm feeling now like I really can say with some authority I know how to build a DIY ultrasonic cleaner. So
Maybe
it's only
say that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So anyhow, I mean, the funny thing is that a lot of people watch that and have not watched the first one. So because when I released it, YouTube offered it up as suggestions, and people watched it, and and you could just tell from what people were saying in there that they're leaving comments that are perfectly clear that they have not watched the first video at all of the actual build.
You're saying people don't watch things in order on YouTube? What madness is that?
I know, but
yeah, I didn't see the previous one either. I just started with this one.
Well, I know that because Jay's in one of them. I think there are essentially 3 videos. The first one is the initial build. The second one was what I referred to as foil tests, and that was to dispel a myth that was getting circulated. Lots of people were saying this, and they're still saying it now, even after I've made this video, which completely and totally dispels the myth. And the idea that when you have multiple transducers emitting the same frequency, that they are cancelling each other out. And as I said in the video, I that just totally goes against my understanding of how sound waves work, in that when you want sound to cancel each other out, you need to actually reverse the what do you call it? There's a word for it. The waves need to come. It'll come to me. There is a word in it. But the waves need to actually oppose each other. And that's how sound cancelling headphones work. If they're just emitting the same waves, they're not going to hit each other and cancel each other out. But anyhow, we proved that with a practical test. Jay basically proved with his super fancy ultrasonic cleaner, because he's got one of the super fancy Crest models, that he proved that those cleaners do leave pits in aluminium foil when you put them in there, because there were a few people that said if you're using an ultrasonic cleaner that has sweeping frequencies, you don't get the pits in the aluminium foil. And we proved that to be absolute nonsense. And then the other thing we proved was that that I set up my cleaner using 2 transducers, then with 4, then with 6, and then with 8, and we basically showed that as each one got added, it was, more and more powerful, cleaned more and more. So yeah, we basically dispelled that myth about.
It was a great series you went through of trial and tribulation to get a lot of these things settled, because you were coming from the perspective of, I have a very specific need to use this cleaner and these very wide and very thin type things that you're going to put in there to clean, and the ones that are usually within our price bracket are not designed for that. They're these big wide deep tanks, and so I mean you learning all of that and building your own and figuring out all this stuff, I think, is invaluable, because someone can now come along, look at all what you've done, and go, okay, now I don't have to make the same mistakes Bruce did.
Yeah, that's right. Let's hope you don't make those same mistakes, and you can actually just go straight to the win. But I mean, there are things like when you have these transducers on there, one of the things they say is don't run the transducers without any water in the tank, and this is a really, really important thing. And it's not even a matter of not having water in there. You need to have enough water in there. Let's just say, for argument's sake, you bought a tank and you only half filled it with water, thinking less water, more power from the transducers because the power is based on the amount of transducers based on the amount of water. And you sort of think, I'll half fill it and it'll be way more powerful. You'll fry your tank. Those transducers are designed to work with a certain load. If the load is too high, they will overheat and they will conk out. If you happen to run a transducer without water in the tank, it will overheat. It will fry your drivers, and it will fry your It'll destroy your transducer, and it will fry your driver. So again, it's these sorts of things that just learning more about the technology and what it can do. But having said that, it is an absolutely fantastic thing to have, and I actually think that if you can get one at a reasonable price, having an ultrasonic cleaner around the house is fantastic. I mean, you can use them for cleaning so many different things. I mean, if you've got like a dirty watch band, if you've got a watch band that's been on your wrist for ages, and you can drop a watch band in there and it just cleans all of the gunk out of the tiny little holes and nooks and crannies. They're very handy little devices to have.
I liked your video. It was lacking in one major department. As we had discussed, I wanted to see what happens if you stuff it full of raw chicken. Will it cook it? But otherwise, it was pretty damn good. Yeah.
Actually, there's a thought. I've never put meat in an ultrasonic cleaner.
Part
No
4
idea.
coming up.
If you want to see Bruce do stupid things in an ultrasonic cleaner, this is what you have to do.
I have an idea.
Like button.
I do have a very definite idea of what I want to do for the next ultrasonic cleaner video. I'm keeping it a bit of a secret at the moment. I have to convince my wife first because it is something that might involve some impact around here. There could be some impact, and so
I just want to see you throw a logic board like a basketball into the hoop with the ultrasonic cleaner. Like you did in the last video.
Is it possible to use an ultrasonic cleaner to polish a turd? Let's find out.
I mean, here's a really interesting thing. I mean, not many people know this, but an ultrasonic cleaner will even clean clothes. So, ultrasonic washing machine.
The next 10 parts just wrote themselves.
I had really explosive diarrhea last night. Let's see if
lasagna in an ultrasonic cleaner.
Yeah.
Barbecue sauce.
Oh. Well, thank you, Bruce. That was very cool.
Thank you for letting me talk for such a long time.
Because he put a lot of effort into it too.
I should put a link in there.
Yeah, you should put the link in there.
I should put a link in there. Hang on.
Well, as Bruce does that, we'll move on to the next topic here. So from VCF Midwest, Ron and I, well, it was Ron's idea, but he had me come along. We did a panel, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this. So at VCF Midwest, there was a panel called Collecting Classic Macintosh Computers is for Everyone. And we had about an hour to go through, and we basically talked about every single beige desktop from 84 to 99 that was in production or being sold at the time. Things you have to watch out for, things to keep in mind when you're buying, our recommendations of what items to avoid, etc. So we were a bit short on time because the auction ran long, and then the previous talk before there didn't have as much time, so we didn't really do a full Q&A, and there were some things that we missed. So I told Ron, well, we should do a longer version of that, which we did. So Ron and I did a Lord of the Rings style extended cut of 2 hours and 43 minutes. It's just talking about every single thing you have to know about every single one of these computers. And it's not just us yakking there. I did add some fancy B-roll footage of things that we're referencing, CD caddies or specific ports. So if you have to worry about an HDI 45 connector, well, maybe somebody doesn't know what the heck that is because they're trying to get into these computers, or what AAUI is. Well, there you go. We're showing you pictures because somebody, me, had a heck of a lot of footage about these old computers that you can just pop in. So it is a long watch, but if you are just getting into these machines and you want to know more about them and you don't know where to start, there are chapters in this video. So if you want to just skip over to, let's say, the LC series, we talk about that. If you want to skip over to the PCI PowerMax, you can pop over there. And we're just basically talking about everything about these machines. What the expandability options were, how useful they are today, what options you have hardware-wise of tinkering around with them, known faults, things like that. So just some good knowledge there. Check out Ron's computer videos. He has the video on his channel, and it was a pleasure to do that because this was kind of like a brain dump of like, Bruce.
Someone did
your
mute.
video, but not your audio.
Sorry. Wasn't going to leave the picture open after what happened last time.
Now I can merge the audio from this with the picture from last time.
But anyway, if you want to learn more about Macintosh collecting or these machines in general, Ron and I basically did a brain dump of everything we knew about these systems, and I think it's a great resource because at the end of it, we do go over where to find recapping guides and some of the projects that are out there, like the Blue SCSI or the Raw SCSI Reloaded, and stuff like that. So it's essentially just like a masterclass on beige Macs. So there you go. There's a bunch of links in the video description too. So if you're just skipping through there, there's tons of stuff, everything we mentioned.
Hey, look at the chickens. Backyard Chickens live right now.
Hey, do it.
And yeah, so, and if you like chickens, you can watch Bruce's stream as well. But check out that video. I'll put a link in here. It's a long one, but it's well worth it. So
Chickens.
that's my spiel.
Excellent. I do plan to watch that. I'm not sure what the occasion will be because I do want to watch the whole thing, and rarely do I get an opportunity for 2+ hours straight of just watching videos. But I do definitely intend to watch it. We started doing something similar to that in this show a while ago. That we sort of got to a certain point and then we never revisited it, where we were just sort of looking through the Macs and just talking about the advantages, disadvantages, all that sort of stuff. So I am looking forward to watching that for sure.
Mr. Leaky calls your chicken fat. What are you gonna do about
Yeah. Which one?
Yeah,
the thing about chickens is that they, unlike a lot of other animals, they just eat what they need. They don't eat any more. Chickens don't really get fat. I mean, they might breed some of them to do that, but and you can just put a stack of food there. They'll just eat what they need, and then they'll just walk away from it.
pigeons will take care of the rest, right?
That's exactly what will happen.
Yeah, I think what my goal for this longer video that we did was there are so many questions that we got from the show of people coming up to our table and asking us about these machines, and a lot of stuff boiled down to like, oh, there's this LC for $100 on eBay. Should I get it? It's like, no, they made hundreds of thousands of these stupid things. Here's some of the advice. Go watch that. So it's sort of like this thing that you could go as a resource. And like you said, Bruce, we were doing that that section on the show when we were talking about the old machines. So I think we'll do a follow-up on Ron's channel. You're welcome to join us. We're going to talk about PowerBooks and then maybe G3 and G4 machines and go from there. So
yes, I mean things like some of the little tips and tricks, like shaving off the clips, so that when you're removing the lid from those ones with really delicate plastic, you don't need to pull the tabs up because you lift them, they will snap.
Eep.
So,
Yeah.
And it's not even a matter of pulling too hard on the tab. It's just the lightest pressure snaps it.
Yeah, it was funny because there was actually a giveaway for the presentation that Ron did, and one of the prizes was an LC. And as the guy's picking it up, Ron says, "Don't breathe on the plastic; it'll just disintegrate."
But I mean, interestingly enough, I mean, this is the thing that I find so extraordinary about the plastic thing, and that it is so clearly, sort of the makeup of the plastic they use. And you get the LC line there. You get an LC1, solid as a rock. You get an LC2, solid as a rock. The 3, I think, is still in the old plastic. I could be wrong. That might have been right on the transition point. But then you go to an LC475, a Quadra 605, and they are really delicate. And so you have these computers that all look so similar.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can mistreat the old LC2, but you get the 475 and you go to take the board out and snap. So yeah.
Yeah, Dana's had fun with that, haven't you?
I had a perfectly good Quadra 660 AV, and I went to I just very gingerly pulled on the tab and snapped right off.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to
I was
pick
like,
one
well, I
up.
got to get in here somehow, so I tried the other one and snapped it off too.
But you
I
got in
kept
there.
them.
So what's the problem?
So I'm just gonna shave off the little tab and glue them back on eventually.
Yeah, yeah.
all
I've
you
had
can
to
do.
glue a couple. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Joy.
Cool. So I had another topic in here, but I didn't have anything prepared for it. So, oh well, doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So,
Preparing?
Okay.
What is that?
Well, I've got a completely and totally off the cuff topic
Go.
here. So my wife wants to upgrade her laptop. She currently is using a 2012 15-inch. I think it is an i5, and it's so 2012, and we're not necessarily going to go down the path of a new one, but I'm just curious, just for us to talk about the problems, the good models, the bad models of these sort of more recent ones. Under these circumstances, what are people's thoughts about what the next laptop should be?
well, the first question I have is, what's your
2009.
budget?
Okay, so the budget at this stage is still a little bit fluid. I am thinking, and keeping it in mind, of course, we're in Australia, but I'm thinking that we could be looking at a couple of $1,000s. One thing is that she does like the larger screens. So this one is a 15-inch screen, and so I don't think she'll be very keen on a 13-inch. So, yeah. And it doesn't have to be the latest model. It can be a second-hand one, newer than 2012, ultimately. But yeah, I mean, I know I was just thinking we might be an opportunity for us to talk about all the things that Apple have done wrong with laptops lately to then say which ones are the right ones. So Jay, what are all the bad ones?
Well, I'll tell you the good one.
There's a website.
The 12-inch MacBook. It's a powerhouse. It'll last you for minutes. It won't break too quick. Definitely what you want to go with. 12-inch MacBook.
12-inch MacBook.
Yeah.
They're the white ones?
No. The 2015.
Oh,
when
the
did they make
2015.
those things?
The
Yeah.
one they made for like 4 months.
Yeah. After that, anything with a butterfly keyboard, fantastic stuff. What else we got? No, those are the good ones. Yeah.
I like the ones where you have the foam padding on the
We look
graphic.
forward to your comments.
I mean, what does she do with the machine first? What's her main apps?
Primarily, it's mail and email, but she does sometimes use the Creative Suite. And yeah, so we do want, enough grunt to be able to handle Adobe bloat.
What's the was there a problem with the current one, or she just wants to?
Yeah, it just blanks out sometimes. It's one that I got for free, and I think it has something wrong with it, and I haven't really
What
spent
year is
much
it?
time on it.
So you're just trying to weasel out
2012.
of not fixing it.
Is that the one with the coil that you repaired?
No,
Okay.
that one's all fixed. I've never done anything to this one because I just fired it up and it seemed to work fine. But yeah, so
Well, now that you told us the truth, Bruce, we want to see you fix it. We're not going to give you any further advice.
yeah, I thought that might happen.
Yeah.
In fact,
Yeah,
you're streaming after this.
The battery life is an issue as well. I mean, I put a brand new battery in it recently, and it still burns through that battery pretty bloody fast. So,
I mean,
I'm
the i5 can handle Adobe. Maybe not as fast when it comes to filters and stuff, but it should be able to handle the latest. It's the graphics that are the bottleneck on those things. And I love anything 2012. I love it. Apple related, that is. But yeah, the graphics are just lacking, especially if you want to keep up with the operating system with OpenCore and stuff. Yeah. I recently discontinued my 13-inch 2012, and I love that thing to death with all the ports on it, and it's perfect. But I went to my all-time favorite, the 15-inch 2015, highest spec model, runs the latest operating system natively, good graphics, no known hardware faults apart from the screen delamination, which you're going to get on all of the Retinas. And yeah, it's perfect. My wife uses one too. Actually, she stole my first one. That's why I had to buy another one. And she uses it as her on the road computer. She has an iMac in her office, but on the road she uses the full Adobe suite on that thing, and so far no complaints.
Yeah, I mean, I've got my laptop is a 2012 i7, and I quite like that one. So maybe she can have mine, and I'll buy a new one.
Well, I mean, the thing that kind of I'm in a similar state. I have a 2015 MacBook Pro, works fine for me now. Probably going to replace the battery, but when this starts getting a little bit slow for what I need, which isn't much, so it's going to be a while. You're looking at some of like the secondhand Macs, the MacBooks and the MacBook Pros. Even here in the U.S., it'll be a few $100s, creeping up towards $1,000, depending on how crazy people are on, places like Big Marketplace and stuff like that, because people are crazy. But if you look at like Apple's refurb store, they even have one of the M2 MacBook Pros for $1,100, which it's a lot of money. But also, if you're looking at, let's say, an $800 refurbished one or secondhand one or $700 one, look, that might be fine for you. And like you said, she doesn't need the latest and greatest. But what I have trouble with is looking at, okay, well, I could spend like a few $100s on this, but if I just went a bit more, and then it's basically a brand new one,
Yeah, I mean,
that's for your scenario, I understand. But
I'm thinking that going down the M1 path, or sort of the Apple Silicon path, may end up being the way to go. Just bite the bullet now, because
get one, and then you get the old one to her.
Yeah, I'm not. She's paying for it, so I'm not sure that's that's going to work. So, but yeah, I was just curious, because I mean, as I say, we know that there are ones that you definitely want to steer clear of, and of course we know that there are these problems like the delamination. But Joe, you're saying that delamination isn't that much of an issue. That's just something that can be resolved.
Yeah, a little bit of baking soda. You just polish the whole screen. Take whatever lamination hasn't deed yet, and you're good to go. And actually looks great, but you'll spend you'll spend some time working that LCD, because you start out the first 2 hours, you're way too careful, nothing happens. Then you go in way too hard. Oh crap, I scratched it. Then you find the middle road, and you're like, 5 hours later, you're good to go. But it is doable.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious what Joe needs an SE30 board for.
He has an SE30 that was passed along to him from the gang at VCF Midwest, and it's in bad shape apparently. So I don't think Joe has a working one to compare it to.
Yes, I do need to send that one back. I still haven't done the work on it. I am actually so far behind in repairs. I've been doing lots of YouTube video releases lately, and so I haven't been getting into the workshop and doing repairs. I plan to remedy that over the coming weeks, but I've got to get that SE30 board of who is it? It's Javier back to him. So yeah,
We need to do a holding each other accountable stream where we all show up and do our work. Else.
yeah,
Gotta go.
Or else.
yeah.
But Joe, nice guy and all, blah blah. But I want my box first, because I was first in line.
Yeah. Well, I've got to basically send the box to you, and then of course that's for Justin as well. I've got to send the box to Joe, and I've got to send the box to our good friend Dan from Canadian Computer Collector. So.
Dan.
Oh, wait a second. Joe's just lazy. He doesn't want to take his SE30 apart. Joe says his is in his window as a decoration right now. Oh, come on, Joe.
Jeremy, no hints. No hints. My harebrained idea, no hints.
No hints.
It will be a surprise when it comes.
We'll all be surprised.
Usually
you guys won't, because I'll tell you guys.
Yeah,
I'll tell
as
you
soon
guys
as the
in our
show
bloody-
ends, he's like, so about this idea. So
I've already told
PayPal
you,
me
Jay.
some cash, and
I
I
told
will
you
sell
that.
the secrets to you.
Chicken.
Joe, just do it like a midnight stream. If someone's looking in your window at midnight, that's a different problem. Take it down for a while.
Okay,
Awesome.
so we can always just finish early.
Well,
Yeah, but before we do, I have a question. Does your wife really need a laptop? Because a nice 27-inch iMac with a Retina screen is quite gorgeous.
She's got a 2012 Mini on her office desk with two 1080p displays. Make that up. and that's works very well as like her office computer. So this is the computer for on the go, and yeah, she does do quite a lot of on the go work. She sort of sets herself outside to work sometimes, and she works when she goes out and works, goes to cafes and stuff like that, and does work there. And so yes, she definitely does want a mobile, a laptop. So
All right.
Cool. All right. So what are we doing this weekend? Anything interesting, Bruce?
repairs. I'm going to be doing repairs. I will probably try and live stream because I haven't in quite some time. As I mentioned, I am catching up with Madeline. I'm catching up with Madeline tonight. I will also be seeing Adrian from the Australia Computer Museum Society. And then yeah, I've got other work to do as well, but I do intend to try and get a bit of a catch up on all of the repairs that I have here, because I've got a few people saying, "Hey, it's been quite a while."
You could
And I'm
watch
like,
our videos
yeah.
while you do those repairs.
Yes, this is true. This is true.
It won't happen.
So yeah, hoping I haven't streamed in weeks because I've been releasing pre-recorded videos. So I do hope to do a stream this weekend. That is the plan. So yeah,
Excellent.
I have a puck cleaning video that I highly recommend. If you watch
Isn't
that
something else?
while you do repairs, it's going to be an amazing experience.
it'll make me more efficient.
Oh,
So are you
absolutely.
doing a follow-up to that, Jay, this weekend then?
No.
So because you haven't released any content in a while, sir.
Oh, I have, but it's all unlisted, so it's there. Video every day, but it's unlisted.
Yes, we've been giving him grief about that. Well, I have certainly been giving him grief about that. I was watching one of his older videos, and I was like, "You're very entertaining to watch. Why aren't you releasing content?" So,
Jay's excuse list is that long, just like all of
anyhow.
them.
Yeah. Hey, I'm here. That's enough.
Speaking of
This counts as one of my live streams, right?
Speaking of excuses, Dana, what are you doing this weekend?
So tomorrow, well, not tomorrow. Tomorrow I have the day off because I am going to be spending a lot of time detailing my entry into my first car show on Saturday.
Ooh, is it trophy material?
Hang on a minute. There it is.
The Granny Killer. No, it's not.
No, that's gone. Yeah, so this is my 95 Dodge pickup. I bought it brand new, and I've had it 27 years. Yeah. So
Rust in the
25
bottom of the
is
door, or is it just
a
the
little bit?
reflection?
Yeah, it's a little bit. And what's on the step there is going to get wiped off. But yeah, it's a work in progress. But for 27 years, it's not in bad shape. So
No, it looks like it was like sold to you last year.
So I've got new side mirrors. I've got some little bits and pieces that I'm gonna put on tomorrow and then clean it up. I bought a new extractor for the carpet, and I cannot wait to try it out. So,
Cool.
What
Gonna make a
is-
video about it.
What's a
No.
carpet extractor?
So it's like a little vacuum cleaner, and on the end of the hose is it's like a transparent. It's like
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 an
a
ice
normal.
scraper type thing.
It injects water and
Ah,
cleaning solution into the carpet, then sucks it right back up, so you can
Ah.
actually see the dirt coming out of the carpet. I can't
Ah,
wait to
The
try
name
it.
is a bit misleading. It doesn't extract the carpet. It
No.
extracts stuff from the carpet.
yes. I mean,
Right.
here we wouldn't really call that an extractor. We would probably more like call that a carpet shampoo machine.
Sure.
Well, Dana, you got to shoot a super slow-mo video of that with your fancy phone and just like
If it works the way I think it's going to work, I'll definitely take some shots of that.
You spent all those hours watching car detailing videos. You're all excited. And when
I
you put it
know.
on your carpet, it just sucks up the whole carpet like crap.
Well, there goes that idea.
oh boy. Well,
Yeah.
this weekend I'll be at the VCF East Swap Meet in New Jersey. Sean will be there, Mike will be there, Greg will be there, so that'll be fun.
Get me something cool.
The other Greg, Rutke, be great if you stop by with my frickin' Centris. That's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and I'm working
Saw
on some videos and junk like that. So Yeah, that's about it for me. All right. Well, anything else before we launch this out of here?
Nothing comes to mind. I think considering we had no topics up until just before the show, we did quite well.
Oh,
We are awesome.
You only say that after we end.
wait a minute. Hold on.
Dana saved it though.
Dana's gonna find it.
I have cleaned it in the last 27 years.
Is that the one I was in, covered in excerpts?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is very clean
Oh.
inside.
I should show. Yeah, I should show that.
Put it in the
picture
Discord.
sometime. Well, we had two G4 MDDs, an Xserve, an Xserve RAID, and all of the the RAID mounting brackets for the
Two
server
actual
cabinet.
excerpts.
There was two in there. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
And
because it's
all
so
in the front-
convenient. You go and pick it up, and you bring a truck. What else?
Yeah.
The bed, completely useless. There's no places
'cause
to
it
mount
rained.
straps on or anything. So I had to put it all on my lap. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it was all in the front of a 2-seat pickup truck.
Yep.
And yeah, Jay was pretty well smothered by
That's
hardware.
fine. He can handle it.
Yeah.
But we could have put some in the back, but it was raining. It started raining as we were loading up, and we were just like, great. So we didn't beat the rain that day.
Well, we have a Discord. We also have a
No.
website.
Someone said last time, can I see that Discord again? I just want to try it because someone said last
No.
time
Yes.
that it didn't work anymore.
The link in the YouTube is different than the link on the screen. So the link in the video description may have to be changed. We'll attend to that if that's the case.
I'm
But
just now
that's
seeing
fine.
all the comments after I put the picture up of my truck. Thank you, everybody. That's
And
cool.
you could also go to tinkerdifferent.com if you need help with something because we're too smart and too busy. All right. Well,
What-
that's
so-
about it. Thank you very much for joining, guys. And we'll see you in 2 weeks, or as Bruce likes to say.
Bi-weekly.
Fortnite.
All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.
See you, everybody.
Bye. Oh, is someone pressing the button?